it is time for my most anticipated video of the year, and this is my palette ranking video of 2025. This is going to be the video where I am going to rank all of the palettes that I have tried this year from my least favorite to my new absolute favorite. We are going to be crowning the best palette of 2025 in this video, and I actually have 100 positions to go through. I didn't think we were gonna have 100 this year because I felt like I tried less. I mean, I did try more palettes last year than I did this year, but I kind of thought we were gonna be like 80 or something, but we are at 100. There's a couple of palettes that I will be excluding, and that will be either because I'm a little bit biased, or it will be palettes that I haven't formed an opinion on yet, things that just recently came out, like the new Gourmande Girls that just came out, or the Blend Bunny that is getting delivered today. Like, clearly I'm not able to include those palettes. I'm also not going to be including the two palettes that my own brand Cinch Beauty released this year. We did release the Paisley Hoot palette, which is my version of a neutral palette. This one was released this early fall, and then we also released the Agate Temptation, which is a color story that I really love. This is like a mucky, yummy, like warm and then greens. Love a color story like this. Clearly I love both of these palettes. I mean, I made them myself, but I won't be including them here because, I mean, how fun would it be for me to sit here for Lord knows how long? I mean, you can look at the timeline down below and just be like getting to the top position and it's my own palette. I mean, where's the fun in that? So just know that clearly I love them, and I'm very excited for you to see our next launch. We will be launching another palette hopefully in January, actually. So I will start at the bottom and I will work my way to the top. I won't be able to list all the palettes in the description box because YouTube does put a limit at how many characters you can put down there. So I'll put like maybe a top 20 or something down there. A lot of these palettes were sent to me as PR, and some of these palettes I've bought myself. I would say it's probably 2/3 versus 1/3 of the palette, if we're going to be totally honest. You can use my discount code Angelica, which is an affiliated code at pretty much all of these indie brands. If you're at the checkout with an indie brand and there's a box where you can enter a code, always try out Angelica and get a little bit of discount, because I do have my code with a lot of indie brands that I really love and respect. So I will leave that down below as well in case you were inspired to shopping something in this video. And I am pretty sure I have saved swatches for all of these palettes, so I will be popping up swatches as well. And I know a bunch of you really appreciated me doing that. So if you did enjoy this video, please leave a comment, give it a like, maybe share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't. This video takes me forever to prepare, to film, to edit. All of that is quite the endeavor. So if you enjoy it, please let me know. It would really help me out. Okay, let me start at some of these palettes might be like released end of last year. I'm not 100% sure. There might be a couple of palettes like that here because, like I said, I mentioned a couple of palettes just now that came in too late, so I wasn't able to include them in my yearly ranking. So instead I include them in next year's ranking, and I'm fairly sure that the Glamlight and Coca-Cola one was like that. The color story, yeah, that's a Coke. There's literally like dust on this one. The color story, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But this isn't the good Glamlight formula. I feel like Glamlight has a good formula. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. And then they have a meh formula. And I don't know if they're working with different labs. That will be my guess. But overall, this isn't their good formula. And also the shimmers are kind of thick. The shimmers are giving 2014 coastal scents, which was great at the time. But this was released now within the last 12 months. So for me, I don't think this is good quality. You can do much better. This is my least favorite palette. And on the next position is the Cherry Cola one. This one, I think the shimmers are a little bit better, but overall, this is pretty uninspiring. And this color story is pretty one-noted. All of them are pretty dark or pretty mid-tone. They've done so much better. I just think, I don't know. I will say Glamlight did say that working with Coca-Cola was less than ideal. So maybe a bunch of the ideas or like decisions that were made with this palette also was part of them being difficult to work with. I don't know that, but I will say those were not fun palettes. Next on the list is actually going to be something of my most controversial review of the year. I don't know how many times I got told that I don't know anything about makeup because I did not like the new pastel palette by Morphe. Hear me out. This is not good quality. I'm sorry, but no. This is not good pastels, and I will be mentioning good pastels throughout this entire freaking video. Literally the top position, best palette of the year, will have amazing pastels. this is not that. I'm very sorry, but this is so mediocre. This is a mediocre, like, satin. This is a great shimmer. These two are okay, and you wet them, they become really, like, incredible on the lids. But if you wet any of these and try to get them in contact with these two, sorry, excuses for pastels, they will literally disintegrate and just, you know, leave the country. These are not good mattes. I'm sorry. They're not great colors. You can do much better than this. In 2025, you deserve great eyeshadows, and this is not that. Yes, it's drugstore. Yes, it's affordable. Yes, it's like readily available at Ulta, but I could literally toss a rock into Ulta and find something of better quality than this. This is not great. I'm gonna die on this hill. This is not great quality eyeshadow. And I feel the same about this one. This is the Electric Current. This is the 12 pan. I love that I had to count. This is the 12 pan palette. Same here. So mediocre quality. These are sheer. They're dry. They're dusty. The shimmers are meh. This is just not it. This is not it. If you're shopping at Ulta, Juvia's Place, ColourPop, so NYX has pretty decent eyeshadows too. There are so many options that are better than this. This just isn't it. I will say though, these two, did not like them. These are the colorful options. I did try one of the neutral options too, and that one is much better. This is something that I feel like still in 2025, not everybody knows, but it is much harder to formulate a colorful eyeshadow than it is to formulate a neutral eyeshadow. Take it from someone who has helped with formulations for quite a few eyeshadows at this point. It is easier to make neutrals. And that could be the reason why the neutral palette is better than those. But I'm just saying, if you're looking for colorful eyeshadows, even at the drugstore, that's not it. Even Makeup Revolution does better eyeshadows than this. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. Okay? Don't show up with pitchforks. Next is also going to be of a quality standpoint, and this is the Tangled palette that ColourPop did with Disney's Tangled. I really like the packaging. Beautiful. This stunning. I don't think the quality is good. They have two of those. Is it two or three? No, it's two of those pretty gritty, like encapsulated glitter shadows. They're gritty. I don't like them. And also the mattes were kind of like meh. I feel like ColourPop has been in their flop era when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. Parts of this year, we'll talk about a couple towards the end of the year that I actually really did enjoy. This was not one of them. I like the color story, yellow with purple. That's lovely. Love that for me. The quality though, the quality did not enter the chat when it came to that palette. I just didn't think it was fun. Next is going to be something where I think the quality is there, but I am questioning where the creativity went. This is the Sigma Spectrum palette, and I mean, again, I have been in my somewhat, I'm just gonna say neutral era as I'm wearing a red eyeshadow look. I did film this with one of the palettes that's top 10. I'll let you know once we get there, okay? I filmed the reel using a palette, so we'll get to that palette in a bit. This is just so uninspiring. This is so uninspiring. This is making Morphe's 350 look like something fun. I get where we're going, but I'm also like, I bet that there are people who look at this palette and they're like, oh, it's got everything I need. It's just so uninspiring. I just think it's boring. There's nothing wrong with quality. Maybe I'm not getting it. I say I'm in my neutral era, but maybe I'm not enough in my neutral era to appreciate a palette like this. But I don't know what to say. I just think I think it's kind of dull, okay? I don't think it's fun. Next one is going to be DD Signature's Shattered Romance. DD Signature have had some really killer palettes this year. I don't think this is one of them though. Pretty sure this one came out for Valentine's Day. This one is not, first of all, not great packaging. Don't like this packaging at all. And also the quality, these are that really, at least this one, and also like this one is pretty flaky too. Very emollient flaky. That swatches great, but don't wear great on the eyes. They crease within like 30 minutes on me. And overall, I think this color story is just pretty uninspired. And I feel like, okay, I feel like this quality is not as good as some of their newer palettes. And I honestly feel like this palette probably should not even have been released this year because it doesn't match with the other palettes that they released end of last year and also throughout this year, except this one. It's Day Day Signature. not Dee Dee. I keep like trying to reprogram my brain because I did meet the owner and her name is Day Day and she introduced herself as Day Day and I was like, dang, I've been saying it incorrectly this whole time. So it's Day Day's signature. I need to like reprogram my brain about that. Next, we're gonna come to a drugstore palette, and this is I don't understand this collab. Still, people were trying to explain it to me, and still I'm like, I don't get it. But this is a Profusion and Hotshot and Casper the Friendly Ghost. Maybe these are like in a comic together. First of all, this packaging. No, and also I can't even open it. I need a tweezer to open it. This is just very like cheap plasticky thing. I hate the packaging of this palette. This one has some great shades, but it also has some awful shades. It's very hit or miss with this quality, which tells me that this product was probably a little bit rushed, or maybe the budget was not enough for it to go through a couple of more rounds of sampling, because some of these shadows are great, some of them not so much. But yeah, again, some of them are great, and if you are balling on budget, I do think that overall, yeah, Profusion is another brand that has pretty decent eyeshadows, quite honestly. Again, I understand for the price point where they are at, they probably can't afford to stall and perfect something. Sometimes you just kind of have to go because like time is money, especially when it comes to like product development, stuff like that. Time is definitely money. Next is actually going to be one of my biggest disappointments of this year, and this is the Simply Posh Cosmetics Gingerbread Bakery. I love Simply Posh Cosmetics and I love this color story. I just don't think this is the same great quality as they usually do. I feel like I've said for a really long time that I was wanting Simply Posh Cosmetics to do lighter shades in their palettes too, because they were always doing mid-toned to darker. But the pastels in this just isn't great pastels. And maybe this is something that they need to work on, like how do we make really great high pigmented pastels. I will still say they're better than the Morphe ones. They're better than the Morphe ones, but they're still not great pastels, and you can make great pastels. I just don't think that these are that. Color story though is really nice, half neutral, half pastel, loving that. I just think the quality is lacking a little bit. Now we're gonna see our first Blend Bunny palette. This is the Blend Bunny Volume 2 with Ellis Atlantis. This is the collab they did. This one is called Imperial. A lot of palettes that I don't love, we're gonna get into some of those now, because of course most of these palettes are great quality, and when it comes down to it, it is more about preference. What do I like? What do I want? What color stories inspire me? And what things make sense in my head? This one, for me, my skin tone, I am a light medium with a pretty like neutral golden undertone. A lot of these grays are exactly the same on my skin tone, and to have all of them in a palette like this, for me, makes no sense. So I personally, both of these two rows, for me, they're too similar on my skin tone, and I don't love grays on me. So for that reason, this isn't my favorite. They did do another palette of this one though that I like much more, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Next palette is again gonna be one of those. It's the Color Story, and this is the Bella Beauté Bar Morley Gray. This one came out for Valentine's Day. This is why it has the heart-shaped pans. I really like the quality of this one, but this palette, I'm having a hard time creating something with this because it has 3 very light shades and 2 really dark shades and 4 shimmers, and they're all very cool toned. I have reached into this palette a couple of times though for this pastel pink, because this pastel pink is great, but one shade in an entire palette that I really love is not enough for me. This just isn't a color story for me because, again, say it with me, grays is not my favorite. Actually, don't take a shot every time I say grays are not my favorite. You will be blackout drunk, and I take no responsibility with drinking games involving the color gray on my channel. Next is going to be the Unearthly Shadowed Petal. This is a 9-pan palette that came out, I think, this spring. This is beautiful quality. This is just a little bit too cool tone again for my liking. I did create beautiful things with this palette. It just wasn't my absolute favorite. I didn't feel super inspired working with this one, and I think it's just the color story. Again, it is just a little bit too cool toned for my liking, and I also thought that all 3 of these shimmers, not that they were similar, I think they're the same like type of like burgundy berry color, but just one is a little lighter, one is a little darker, one is a little warmer, one is a little, I wanted a little bit more variation even in the 9-pan palette. Maybe I'm picky, but that's just how I felt about that one. Here comes the neutral palette from Morphe. This is the one that's called Rich Glitz. And I actually did like this one. It's a pretty nice palette. I even saved this one in my declutter because of course I've already filled my declutter. Some of these palettes I literally fished out of my declutter pile. They're going back in the declutter pile after this. This one I saved. I think it's a pretty decent neutral palette. Again, this is nice quality. The mattes are pretty nice. This is still a pretty weak like satin, but sometimes the satin looks really nice on the eyes, especially if you have more mature eyelids. I am about to turn 42, and I sometimes think that some of these like modern indie shimmers that are very, very textured and structured with bigger sparkle particles, they just don't look good on my lids always. So I can sometimes appreciate something like this. It makes it easier to work with. But again, I did enjoy this palette. I thought this one was nice. I mean, I still think you can do better at the drugstore, but when it comes to the Morphe eyeshadow palettes, go for the neutrals over the colorful ones because they clearly have not figured out the colorful ones yet. This is Covens Beauty Apothecary of Color. This has one of those little boxes that you open, and they relaunched their brand this year, and this is, I described this as like a gothic rainbow in my video. Common Beauty is like a more of a alternative brand. I think this is pretty cool, and I really like the shimmers in this one. I think they nailed the shimmers pretty good because again, it's giving impact. They're pretty thin and beautiful to work with. You can build them up, but they're not hard to work with on your eyes, and they didn't crease on me. The mattes are good, but a little thin. You do need to build them up, but again, that's not the end of the world. I can work with them, but it's not my absolute favorite quality in my collection. But I still think if this is the aesthetics that you're looking for, it wasn't a bad palette, I will say that. Then we have the NARS Afterglow Tempting palette. This is a little 9-pan palette that came out this year. If I can open it, I need to have a tweezer out because some of these palettes are hard to open. This is a 9-pan palette that is like a warmer 9-pan palette, so I do appreciate that. For me, I wish the shimmers had a little bit more oomph to them. They felt a little bit too thin on my lids, and I also do wish that one of these shimmers would have been another matte instead, because I like when a palette is more heavy on the mattes over the shimmers. That's just a personal preference though, because this one only has 3 mattes and then 6 different shimmers. I still thought this was a nice palette, but this one is pretty low because it's fairly uninspiring to me, and I've used it a couple of times and I feel like all my looks look pretty the same, and then I feel like it could just have been like a quad instead. But that's just, I don't feel as inspired by that one. A similar color story, and I'm actually putting this on top because it's not that I necessarily think that this has better quality. I think honestly this quality is pretty good. This is the Icon palette by Makeup Revolution, the Enchanted Icon. This is actually really good quality. There are 2 cream shadows here that I used as a primer, and they worked pretty good as a primer. It goes from light to dark, mattes and shimmers, like an equal, somewhat equal ratio. There is an extra shimmer here. But this is a pretty good palette, and I got a really good result with it that lasted a really long time. And they're not that different in color stories, but the difference in price is crazy. And that is one of the things I'm trying to spend more time thinking about this year when I was doing my reviews. Sometimes if I'm deciding between 2 palettes and one of them is $80 and one of them is $40, I'm just gonna have to give it to the one for $40, because at the end of the day, I really don't think that a palette should be $80. I mean, maybe in 20 years, all makeup is $80, but right now, I just kind of wish sometimes that we would just try and reel it in a little bit with makeup prices. Again, maybe that's just very utopia feeling of me, but I just kind of wish that. With that being said, this one does not have great packaging, but I still think that like the quality of these Icon palettes, not that bad, not that bad. Next one is a Gloss Gods palette. This is the Molten Metals palette. This one came out, I think, late last year. This is really nice quality. The mattes aren't my absolute favorite, but overall they're really nice. They're just very like molten metals, metallics, like very foiled, and then a row of mattes. This is, if you only wear neutrals and you want to have a party palette, this one is great. This one is a little bit uninspiring to be a perfect favorite for me, but the quality is really nice and I did enjoy working with it. It's just not, again, super inspiring, but I do like that unlike the Sigma palette we talked about, at least this one is only, what, 10 shades? If you're just gonna do browns, I think that's enough. Next one is the ColourPop and New Moon palette. I really like the color story of this one, but the quality wasn't my absolute favorite. I have worked with this one quite a few times, and sometimes I have no problems whatsoever blending the mattes together, and then sometimes it gives me a little bit of trouble. Plus it has two of those like a little bit more, you know, thicker glittery shadows that feel a little bit, you can feel them. Now you can feel them on the eyes. I don't love that. Overall, I think the color story is really good. The quality could have been a little bit better. This is really beautiful. It's called Alice. It's a yellow pinky peach duochrome. If this one had been better quality, I think I would have bumped this palette up way more. But it's just kind of like weak, which is a shame because I think it made so much sense in this palette. The color with the yellow with the peach duochrome. It could have been so much better. Just lacking a little bit in quality. Packaging, stunning though. Really, really enjoyed the packaging. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Beautifying Eye Trends in Denim Dimension. Let me pull out my tweezer again because we all know I'm having trouble. So I will say, the quality of this one is actually really, really good. This one, I love a blue eyeshadow. You might not see that today, but blue is actually my absolute favorite eyeshadow color to wear. That's like my happy color. If I'm ever feeling down, if I'm ever feeling blue, I will bring out blue eyeshadow and do like just a bright blue look. This one has a little bit of a almost gray cast on it. It's called denim, so it totally makes sense. But overall, these shimmers, really good quality. The mattes, really, really nice. I personally wish it didn't have that grayscale, and I wish that there would have been maybe one more shimmer in here, but I can't deny that even though the packaging is a little chintzy, the quality is actually really nice. Here we have The Other Side by Clarity Cosmetics, and I will say, I like the color story, like the idea of this color story more than I like it when I used it on my eyes. These mattes were not as like bright and fun when I started working with them on my eyes as they were when I swatched them out, and I also felt like the shimmers were a little two-dimensional. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with it per se, but when I work with it, I felt like the formulas felt a little dated, and I haven't felt like that before with Clarity, but somehow this felt almost like, again, it's giving the kind of formulas we had in 2015, 2016, and I feel like we can do better than that. But this color story is beautiful though. I mean, again, I wish there was a lighter one, but I mean, I can always bring in something else for that. I wish there was more contrast in this palette, but I think the color story is really beautiful. There was just something about when it came on the eyes, it gave me the throwback nostalgia feeling, but not necessarily in the way you might want to. We are bravely moving on to the pile marked 71 to 80. I try to have like it organized, there's hairs everywhere, chaos when it comes to this project because there is a lot of moving parts in this. Again, don't come for me, but this is the Lightworks Freedom, the Nessa Myricks Beauty Lightworks Volume 12 Freedom Palette. Hear me out. You can do better. In this price range, ma'am, you can do better. This is the mattes, not great. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've tried some other Nessa Myricks mattes. I tried the one in the mini pastel palette. I like those. I've tried the mattes that she had in her monochromatic palette with the putty and the powder. I like those. These, I don't like them. They're pretty thin and dry, and where you put them down they will stick and it will be a little bit hard to blend out. I didn't love these mattes. I thought they were not the best, especially at this price level. Some of these shimmers, incredible, lay on beautiful on the eyes, do not like crease or like flake off, do not feel heavy. Some of them, thick, emollient, like almost feels heavy on the eyes, creases within 30 minutes, and look textured and weird, at least on my eyelids. I would say buyer beware with this palette. This is a $100+ palette, and if you're looking for spectacular shimmers, I would say you can get better quality than this with some other palettes that I'm gonna mention in a bit if you spend within $60, $70, $80, $90 within indie. You will get something that is better than this with equal intensity of the shimmers, but mattes that are actually easy to work with, and you'll save some money. That's how I feel about this one. I just don't think this is worth the money. It's not awful, But this is not great quality, and it's definitely not $100+ great quality. Next one is going to be the Glaminatrix Timeless Tones. I think this is a pretty decent palette. I have no problems with the quality. This just isn't my color story. It's very cool toned leaning. Even the blue and the greens here, it's just whatever I do with this palette, I just end up getting something where I'm like, not my favorite. That's just how I feel about this palette. The color story just isn't for me. Next one is going to be the Nomad Route 66. I really like this package. The packaging, I love the packaging. The color story is a little chaotic. Mine also had a little bit of a tumble. Oopsie doopsie. The color story is a little chaotic, but I could have seen past that if I loved the quality. I think some of these shadows are amazing, but not all of them are created equal, and some of them feel a little weak, which again makes me wonder, do we have enough time in development to do a second round of samples if the quality of the shadows are not as great as we are used to them being? Next one is going to be Plastic by Blend Bunny Cosmetics. I hope Blend Bunny does more palettes in this format. This is a 12 pan. Had to count. Math is not my thing. Love the format of this one. What I will say, I think the color story in this one, I think that Blend Bunny, the owner of Blend Bunny, when she made this color story, I think she probably, and I say this from my perspective, why I am not loving this palette. I think she painted herself into a corner thinking that this 12 pan palette had to have everything in the same way as her big gradient palette does. A 12 pan palette doesn't have to have everything. We didn't need a black. We didn't need this like transition beige. We could have skipped that, honestly, and just brought in something else instead, because I feel like those two shades are kind of like bringing down. Most people who own Blend Bunny already have a Blend Bunny palette, and they already have that in their collection. It didn't need to be in this palette as well, especially since Blend Bunny already has those kind of shades in so many of their other palettes. That's what I think. And also, the most fun shade in this palette is this bright, like, fuchsia pink metallic, which is unfortunately the weakest shadow in this palette. So I'm deducting some points for those things, but nothing would bring me more joy than if we could see this format in more Blend Bunny palettes, because I would love to see even more with the vision. And I feel same about this one. This is the Blend Bunny and Lynn's Makeup Looks, the collab that they did. The reason why this one is lower down is because at the end of the day, this is a rainbow palette. And Blend Bunny has so many rainbow palettes, and I have so many rainbow palettes, and they need to be a little bit more different than this is for it to rank higher. I think sometimes when it comes to collaborators, it's really hard to do something with the brand that is not too similar from what you already love with the brand. And a lot of people love the big rainbow or gradient palettes from Blend Bunny, and a lot of collaborators have done their own version of rainbow gradient palettes with Blend Bunny. At least 4 of the collaborators have done that. Rainbow, like big rainbow palettes or gradient palettes. And I think that it's hard sometimes to be like, what can I bring to a brand, instead of doing a version of what already exists with the brand. And again, that is just my personal opinion. Maybe I said I was entering my villain era. Yeah, I've decided come 2026, I'm no longer going to be working as a full-time beauty creator. And I said I was entering my villain era. I was just being like brutally honest and just blunt about all of it. I'm sure that will make me very popular in this space, but I do think that sometimes collaborators don't spend enough time thinking about how will this bring something new to the brand. Again, there's nothing wrong with the quality of that one. I just feel like it's too similar to what has been done from before. This is the Snow Angel palette by Simply Posh Cosmetics. This one, I actually like the quality of these. The reason why this one is lower down, oh my god, the shimmers are so beautiful. Now just looking at it in the reflection, these shimmers are so beautiful. This, again, is a little bit of that grayscale that I don't love in palettes. But I know other people love that in palettes, but it's not my absolute favorite. So this just wasn't perfect for me for that reason, but I still think that this one has nice quality. Here is one that is probably one of my biggest disappointments also this year. This is the Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone palette. I usually really love this brand's quality, and in a way, there's nothing wrong with the quality, but this palette wasn't needed. We didn't need, I don't know why I looked at this and I thought I was gonna get something else. But that's because usually with Natasha Denona, when you start swatching out the palettes or when you start using the palettes, you're kind of seeing like the vision, or like there's more to it than meets the eye. There's not more to this than what meets the eye. This is it. If you think a couple of these shades look the same, it's because they pretty much look the same on the face or on the eyes. I get the whole thing about their different undertones for different foundation shades. I totally 1,000,000% get that. I really, really do. But did we need that in an eyeshadow palette? Did we need this many browns that are this similar to each other next to each other? I feel like it's lacking a vision. It's lacking contrast, even though there's blacks here. But like, I felt bored using this one. And I think first and foremost, was this needed in the lineup that Natasha Denona has? Because Natasha Denona has quite a few neutral palettes of great quality, and I don't see how this one was needed in the lineup. This is one of the newer palettes, and this is the Ice Crystals palette by Oden. This is their winter palette. This one has a lot of really good shades individually. I'm not sure that I'm on board 100% with the vision of the color story, and I do think you can get a lot of contrast in this palette. Unfortunately, my biggest gripe with this palette is the packaging. I don't love this packaging when Oden does this big packaging, and it's not even that it's a lot of shades, because I have realized that what I dislike about big palettes, it's not the amount of shades, it is the amount of packaging. Like, why is there so much packaging for this shades? Like, this could have been smaller. This could have been a little bit more concise. And I also, unfortunately, I really love deepening up, because I love a deeper eyeshadow look. Both of these shadows are pretty close to each other, both on the eyes and swatched out. They're both like almost dark grays, and I kind of wish one of them had been even darker and one of them would have been a brown instead, because it just doesn't give a lot of options when it comes to depth. With that being said, I know a lot of you out there are like, oh, I don't want dark shadows, this is perfect for me. But I think my biggest gripe is the size of that palette and the just unnecessary packaging. And then of course the color story, it doesn't 100% make sense for me how this color story is constructed. And with that being said, I did create some really, really beautiful looks with that one. But every time I did a look with this one, I always was like, oh, maybe I should reach into another palette and get this type of a shade. So I was kind of missing something all the time. This is the Light Scatters palette. This is the full shimmer, like multichrome palette between Cleonut and Bad to the Brow. And for me, if I'm gonna do an all shimmer or an all matte palette, I will always go for an all matte palette or an all shimmer palette. I rarely reach into other palettes to grab a shimmer, but I often reach into other palettes to get another matte. So this is just a palette that I never reach for. This is just a palette that it's beautiful, the shades are beautiful, but I never reach for this one. I just find it very hard to be inspired by an all shimmer palette. With that being said, the shades are beautiful, it's just not a very inspiring palette to me. Okay, normally when I do these videos, I've already I do these rankings based on the rankings that I do throughout the year. But some of these palettes I actually moved around because I was like, you know what? I have changed my mind. This is one of them. I moved this one up a bit because the more I have used this one, the more I have enjoyed it and the more I feel inspired by this color story. This is the Beach Dreaming palette and this is the Lilo and Stitch and Colourpop palette. With that being said, the quality is not the amazing Colourpop quality. It's not awful. It's nice. It's good. You can work with it. It's better than the Tangled for sure. You can work with it. I think it has one... Yes, it has one of those little bit more glittery shadows, but I gotta say, the color story in this palette makes me so happy. It's so inspiring. Like these together with this shade here, with this green here, and there's something about this color story that's just incredibly inspiring. And every time I've used this palette, every time I've reached into this palette, I've just been really happy with the color choices, the color story, how it looked on my eyes and how it wore. So I had to bump it up a couple of positions, even though this isn't the great Colourpop formula, because it's grown on me and it really makes me happy. Moving into Unoriginal Nudes by Bella Beauté. This is also an all neutral palette. This one has a little bit more variation than some of the other all brown palettes. And I also think that in texture, this one has more to offer than some of those other all brown palettes. But still, I think in neutral palette, you can bring more than just browns. This one does have a mauve though, and I really do like it. It also has a holographic metallic down here that's really, really nice. But I do, again, think that like it's a little bit two-dimensional. With that being said, quality is beautiful. Some of these shades do crease on me. Bella Beauté, unfortunately, a lot of the shades do end up creasing on me. I do have you can see here, have very like hooded lids with age, and some of these are a little bit emollient. Quality is beautiful though. I just kind of was hoping for something a little bit more inspiring when it comes to a neutral palette from a brand like Bella Beauté that makes incredible color stories, and we'll talk about it quite a few upcoming. This is the Thinking of You from Unearthly. This came out, I'm pretty sure this one came out for Valentine's Day. This one, I really did like it. The only reason why this one didn't end up higher than it is because a couple of these shades look more similar on the eyes than you would think, especially these two shimmers. And I tried to do different kinds of looks. They just end up looking a little bit similar to each other. And I don't know if it's the way that all the mattes are, except this one, are kind of like the same undertone and depth, and it just kind of just becomes a little samey. I kind of wish that one of these had been even more different, and maybe like one of these or something had been a little bit more different. They're a little bit too samey, but I still thought that the palette was really nice. Maybe I didn't want, like, I wanted a little bit more contrast. There was something that wasn't entirely correct. This one is the Green Goddess palette by Bella Beauté. Really, really great. Love the quality of this one. Great quality. A couple of the shimmers do crease on me. That's just the way that it is with Bella Beauté. A couple of the shimmers will crease on me quickly. And I think that, like, if I have very, very hooded eyes, most eyeshadows except maybe a couple of brands will crease on me after like 14 hours. Because I wear my makeup for a long time. When I say that things crease on me, I mean they crease within the first hour. And some of these really emollient, slicky shadows that swatch incredibly will crease if you have hooded eyes kind of quickly. This one, I have no problem working with it. First time I used it, I had a problem with the red one working with it, but I used it again with the red one. I had no problems whatsoever, so I think that was just like user error, honestly. But what I will say is that this one again has a little bit of a gray cast, a little bit more of a cool undertone to it. Not my absolute favorite from them. This is the Green Goddess. I love the Poison Garden that came out last year. I'm pretty sure that one was number 2 on like the best palettes of the year. It's giving this like grungy green, but a warmer undertone, and this is like the same, but like a cooler undertone. Here's on the Colourpop palette, and this is the Colourpop and the Grinch. It's called actually How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Really, really like this palette. These mattes are nice. These are good Colourpop mattes. I really enjoy them. I think maybe the two Super Shock shadows, you can even see it here, like they have like holes in them. I think those were maybe a little bit too emollient for being in a palette like this, but everything looked really beautiful on the eyes. And if this one had had one green matte, this one would have been even higher, because I get that like you want to do something that's maybe a little bit more wearable in the grand scheme of things, for like the normal consumer that is not looking for a green eyeshadow palette. I get it, but maybe one green matte for the Grinch, like one, I would have liked that. That would have been really nice. Here comes a neutral palette that I actually really, really do enjoy, that has a really nice color story, and this is called Nearly Natural by Gourmande Cosmetics. This one has like a berry, a mauve, a mustard, like a couple of greens. There are some different undertones in the shimmers. There are some more options in different directions that you can go, and this one leans a little bit more on the warmer scale down here, which again fits more my undertone. So for me, this is a neutral palette that I prefer over the other one that I showed you. Here's another Simply Posh palette. This is the Black Cherry palette. The shimmers in this is just incredible. Really like the quality of this one. The thing that I don't like about this one, the reason why it's not higher, is that I don't think there's enough difference between some of the shadows here. Especially when you start swatching them out, they do seem a little bit too similar to each other. And I'm just thinking, like, if one or two of these have been like a paler pastel, if one or two of these have been a little bit brighter, or like something else, they're just a few samey shadows in here. Again, I get it, like we have a cherry theme going on, but maybe the palette needed to be smaller then, because I understand that they have this format that they're going with, but sometimes a color story that you have in mind requires more or less shades. I know that from experience, when you start like creating color stories, you're like, I didn't need this many shades for this, or I actually need more shades for this color story. It depends on what you're trying to do. Here we have another all shimmer palette. This is On Top of the World. This is by Sparkling Iridescent Eyeshadow Palette by Cleonad. The quality of this one is just incredible. And this all shimmer palette, I actually have dug into a couple of times, because again, there are times when I want an iridescent topper, because these are more topper shadows to put on top of a look, or to put like on an all matte look. I'll just add something like this. I actually really enjoy the quality of this one, and I think Cleonad makes amazing iridescent topper shades. So for me, this is probably the best all shimmer palette that Cleonad has made. I really like it. I say that as someone who doesn't even love all shimmer palettes. Now we're gonna do all the 3 Adept palettes that I think these are all the 3 Adept palettes that I have tried this year. I'm not on the Adept PR list. They definitely have released more palettes, but these are the ones that I decided to buy. The first one is gonna be EBE, Shadow Fell Out. Let me go on a rescue mission. I think these are magnetic. I'm failing. Oh my god, send help. I think these are magnetic, or if they're not, this one did not stick in. But yeah, this is the EBE one. I think that this one is fine. I think that this one, the shadow in here, that's like this red pinky one, I think the palette makes more sense like this. And I think they probably should have put in a multichrome in here that had the green going to red instead of the red going to green. Because like this, I don't think the palette makes as much sense like this as it does like this. And I will always say with Adept, and this is the reason why all their palettes are where they are, I wish Adept paid as much attention to their mattes as they do to their shimmers, because I think their shimmers are really great. Sometimes they crease crazy on me, which like it is what it is. Sometimes they crease crazy on me and they're very expensive. The mattes aren't amazing, and they pay so much attention to getting the shimmers to be all these special shimmers, but then when it comes to the mattes, sometimes they're not even great mattes. I will say in these 3 palettes that I've tried here, I think the mattes are nice, but they're not great, and I think in 2025 we deserve great mattes. This is the emo one. I think this one has really a nice color story. It has some more muted green tones. And the next one is going to be, and quite honestly, these could be the same. This one is called the Minka. I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but like these color stories are very similar. They're both a mauvey berry muted greens color story. These palettes came out back to back, and I will never understand why. I personally prefer the Minka one because I think the mattes make more sense and they're really nice. But why did these palettes come out back to back? I don't understand. It's not that there's anything wrong with both of these palettes. Again, the mattes are fine. The shimmers are very impactful. Some of them crease on me, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. But I think Adept might need to step out of their comfort zone with color stories for the future, because some of them are starting to look a little similar. And I know they had that Cyborg Choir palette, which is still, except my friend Heather Austin's palette, I think the palette that they have done that is not a collab palette, I think the Cyborg Choir palette is the one that has the most inspired color story. Or maybe Samarian Sunset had a pretty inspiring color story too. But lately there's been a lot of kind of samey color stories, and I'm beginning to be like, did we run out of ideas? I want to see something that's maybe not the owner's taste. I don't know, because I think those two are too similar to be in the same range and way too similar to be released back to back. This is the Cobra palette by Gerard Cosmetics. Again, I think the formula in this one, especially this one, has a really nice, that updated, like nice slicky duochrome formula. I think this one is lacking a little bit of contrast. Some of these shades are a little bit similar to each other. They're a little bit in the same tone to each other. And I kind of think that like maybe some of this could have been something else. Again, this is nice quality, but it's a little bit two-dimensional for me to be like a full color story. Next one is going to be the Attitude Cosmetics Arcana palette, and I think that this one is, again, it has that little gray. There's been a lot of these like pink, purple, teal, but with a gray kind of a cast on them this year, and I don't know how I feel. It's not my favorite type of way of doing colors. This like muted grayish gray pastel kind of a thing. It's not my favorite. I also will say this color here did not work on me, and when I say did not work on me, it like faded on my lid. It was really hard to work with, and then it faded from my lid. It was kind of weird, honestly. It was a little weird. Let me see where I can put this one. So that wasn't my favorite palette from Attitude Cosmetics. First look I didn't like the matte. It just faded on me. And then after I didn't use that color, I didn't have any problem with all the other colors. It's just not my favorite color story from them. Here is the Fantasy Cosmetica Artificer palette. This is the first Fantasy Cosmetica palette on the list. I did put one of the Fantasy Cosmetica palettes from last year as the best palette of the year. And we're gonna see a few palettes on this list, and this is the first one. The Artificer palette is a neutral palette. Again, I do think that this one is more interesting because it has an icy white, which is really fun. And then there's a peach here, so you can go in a different direction. But again, it's not my absolute favorite neutral palette out there. But I will say, if you're going to do something that is a little bit more one-noted with neutrals, I'm at least happy that it's a 9-pan. I didn't need more than that. Here is the Mocha Moment by Gourmande Girls. Gourmande Girls has made some really great palettes this year. You're going to see quite a few upcoming. Again, this is the first one from the brand. This one is a neutral palette. This is, I think, a more inspiring color story, but still not my absolute favorite. There is berry, there is green, there is a brighter green, there is more of a like a muted like an olive tone in here as well. The shimmers are a little bit too flaky, and some of them did crease on me, and I wish there was maybe an even paler shade in here as well, just for contrast. But overall, I think it's a nice palette, but not the best palette Gourmande Girl has done this year, according to my taste. This is the first palette that I am trying from Gerard Cosmetics, and it reminds me in formula a lot of these brands like Gourmande Girls, Bella Beauté Bar, Fantasy Cosmetica, Ensley Rain back when I used to review them. This is in the same ballpark as formulas, very similar to those. The price range is pretty similar as well. This is the collaboration with Andromeda, and I bought this because I am a huge fan of Andromeda. This color story is a little bit gray leaning for me, but that is Andromeda's taste, so it totally makes sense for them to make something that fits them. I think every collaborator should do that, and it also definitely brings something new to the Gerard's lineup. I haven't seen them do anything like this. Mattes are really good quality. The metallics are very foily, emollient, and a little flaky, so unfortunately they do crease on me, and not all of them, but most of them. But I think the quality is really nice, and if you like this color story and you like the Bella Beauté Bar formula, you'll probably enjoy that one too. It's just a little bit too gray leaning to be perfect for me. And it's the same with Cosmic Beauty. I'm putting this on top over the Gerard one because this one is way less money. This is the Smolder palette. This one still has some tones in here, and when I started using this palette, I was like, wait, there is a bunch of ways I can make this palette fit me better, especially with these warmer shades up here, and they mix together with these other ones, and I can actually make eyeshadow looks that fit my taste better. And I love Cosmic Beauty's quality. This is the kind of quality that I like. I love the mattes, I love the shimmers. These do not crease on me, and they're also a little bit more affordable. It's just a formula that I really enjoy and that I really get along with. Then we have a Day Day Signatures collab with Mariam and Day Day Signature. This is called Golden Tides. This one came out this summer. This is a great 9-pan because you can do so much with this. The pink one, this dark brown, all of these other shades work with this dark brown, and it's like a reddish dark brown. So if you mix this one together with the brown or the yellow, it's gonna look more brown, and especially as well with the blue here. But if you start mixing it with the pink or the red, it's gonna look more as a reddish brown. It's a really, really smart color story, and you have 3 different shimmers. This gold here is like a iridescent bright gold to silver duochrome topper. It's really, really interesting. Overall, I think the quality is beautiful, and the color story is made in a really versatile way for being a 9-pan. This is the Nomad's Christmas palette. It's called Kindlemarket. I say it differently every time. I don't know if I'm doing it correctly. I'm saving the box because this is an advent calendar and it's very nostalgic for me, so I'm saving the packaging. And this is a pretty classic, I would say, Christmas story, Christmas palette. I think this quality is really beautiful. I like the shadows in here. I like that there are different formulas within the shadows. I like that there is red and there is pink in here too, so you can go in different directions if you want to. You can go classic with the burgundy, you can be a little bit more contrasty with the pink. There is green, there's neutrals, there's blues. I like it. It's not my absolute favorite color story like this, but I still think they did a really good job, and I really did enjoy the palette. Oh, here comes another Blend Money palette. I'm gonna put it back in the packaging. This is the collaboration they did with May Pang, and I think that this is probably one of the more unique collabs that they've done. This one is called Rotten. I'm not bringing out the shimmer palette, but I did enjoy that one too. I think I said with that palette that I thought the quality was really good. If you have iridescent shades, you already have those shades. It's not that they're bringing anything new to the table, but they're a really nice companion palette if you don't already own iridescent shades. They're a little bit more on the drier, flakier side, and personally my favorite like iridescent formula is the one from Cleonad, but it's also a little bit more expensive. That's what I said about that formula. But I rearranged mine. If you have seen my eyeshadow palette declutter, I did have a full video going through all of my eyeshadows that I own and decluttering. I think over 170 palettes were decluttered. In that video, I did rearrange my palettes. I am normally not the person that's against a more chaotic layout. It's not how I arranged my own palettes, but I'm not like against it. I do think it's very important for a brand or for a creator to lay it out in a way that makes sense for them. But this palette, it was so chaotic that I couldn't even see really what I wanted to do. So I did rearrange it, and I like it much better like this. I will say this is a pretty like desaturated color story. It has some of them have a little bit of a gray tone on it, and some of them are very, very warm leaning, and then there's some gray tones and there's some pastels. But overall, I think it's a really, really nice palette. It's very unique. Again, it's not my personal preferred undertones, but I gotta give it to them. It's very unique. I haven't tried a lot of Glamlight palettes this year. I think this one came out. When did I get this one? Did I get this one last year? I don't even remember. I mean, this was the year that I was no longer on the Glamlight PR list. Again, no hard feelings. They want to do more TikTok, which I think a brand should always follow their gut and do what they want. I'm probably going to do the same with my brand. Eventually, some people are going to no longer be on the PR because it doesn't make sense for like, you know, the vision that you have for your brand. So there's no hard feelings that I am no longer part of the vision that Glamlight has for their brand. If I want something, I'll buy it. I actually did buy the new Bratz palette because they had it on sale and I did purchase it. It hasn't been delivered yet, but again, if I want something, I'll just buy it myself. This one was, I think, the last thing that I got in PR from Glamlight. And you know what? I really like this color story. I think it is really beautiful. The more I've used it, the more I've liked it. I really think they nailed the chocolate tones. This is the collaboration that they did with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I really think they nailed the chocolate tones, and I really like the pinky purple undertones here. Are these colors you've never seen from Glamlight before? No. But at least this is the great Glamlight formula, and I really did enjoy this palette and this color story, so I gotta give it to them. That one was I was really nice. Here comes is this the first Lethal Cosmetics palette? This is the Dexter palette. I mean, this packaging, this is a collab they did with Dexter, the TV show. A lot of people are saying that this packaging makes 100% sense, and I think it's really cool that they're able to do things for collabs that like make sense. It's not my favorite packaging because it like turns out to be like this. Lethal Cosmetics have changed their formula as of late, and they have updated the formula according to me. I think their formula is better now than they were before. I always thought their mattes were good, but now I think their mattes are great. And I think their shimmer formula is really impressive and impactful, and I really enjoyed working with this one. And there's a couple of shades in here that are really unique and that I have reached for after I reviewed this palette. I've reached for again to use them again because I remember how much I enjoyed them. This was the year that Hung Van Go was launched at Sephora, and I gotta say, a lot of people are saying that this is one of the signs that visible makeup is coming back. I don't think 2016 makeup is coming back because I don't think we're ever gonna have block eyebrows and like visible like Neapolitan ice cream makeup. We're never gonna have that again, but I definitely think visible makeup is coming back. And Hung Van Go is one of the things that people are saying that a brand like this launching at Sephora is a sign that the trends are changing. Maybe. I do enjoy this color story a lot. This is not the best quality out there, according to me. Again, this is great for being Sephora, but you can get better than this from indie brands. So if you are looking for a colorful eyeshadow at Sephora, definitely go for this one. It's nice. This is the green one that's called Generous Greens and Yellows. It's nice. I like what I've done with it. It's a nice one, but it's not amazing. It's not amazing, but I really did enjoy it. And I love the color story first and foremost. I think the color story, the undertones, and the textures in here shows that it's made by someone who really knows and enjoys makeup. But I definitely think that there's also room for improvements. Next one is going to be my only Pat McGrath palette on this list, but I think it came pretty high because I do think I got the limited edition purple packaging because I feel like Pat McGrath has a tendency of not ranking very high with me because I think that the color stories are a little bit uninspiring. This one I really like. I like the color story. I like the looks that I've done. I think it makes 100% sense. There are 3 greens in here, and overall I really enjoyed this. They look beautiful on the eyes. They're very easy to work with, and I have had nothing but fun with this palette. And I think that this is, I mean, the fact that a store like a color store like this is still available at Sephora, that you can get something again like this at Sephora, is this wild in like indie makeup? Like, no, it's not. But for being Sephora, that color story is like pretty out there, and I'm still saving the outer packaging because I think it is so cute. So cute. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a great palette. I'm happy to have it in my collection. And are we ever gonna see anything more colorful than that from the brand? I mean, probably not. Let's be honest, probably not. This is the Nomad Cosmetics Chamonix Après Ski, and this is the palette they came up with, I think, in the beginning of the year. Again, it is a somewhat purpley green pink with a gray tone. We've seen a lot of palettes like that this year. There's been a lot of palettes like that. This one is really nice though. I really like the quality of this. I love that there's topper shades. I love there's different undertones. I really like this one. It's like almost like a purple like topper shade. I think I decluttered this palette because I kept the other one instead, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I might keep this one. Or at least use it one more time before I make up my mind. Because now I'm looking at the topper shades and I'm like, dang, these are pretty. But there is that grayscale. That gray, like it's almost like there's a gray filter over some of these color stories. And that's the reason why it just can't be higher for me. Everybody's saying, where's the cool tones? Where are the cool tones? And I will say, as someone who loves warm tones, there has been nothing but cool tones for like 2 years. Like, there's so many cool tones on the market. Like, I think we can take a break from cool tones for a bit, okay? I think we can move on. This is from Glaminatrix, and this is the Entrancing Eyes. They had a couple of these different 6 pans. I only used one of them actually, and I gave 2 of them away, and one of them arrived broken. I think this is a fairly good 6-pan palette. The quality is really beautiful. It's not how I would do a 6-pan palette. I probably would not have something like this in here because like I don't need something like that in the 6-pan palette. It's not my favorite, but I still think the quality is really beautiful. For me, small palettes like this, these are the kind of palettes I travel with. I do not bring these out when I'm here doing my makeup. That's when I reach for palettes that have a little bit more shades like this, 10 shades and up. maybe like I should say 9 shades enough. So this is a travel palette for me, but unfortunately these are extremely fragile, so I never did actually travel with them because again, one of them arrived broken here. I fixed it and it broke again. It's just very fragile and I can't have a travel palette I can't travel with. I just had to take a really long break because yard work showed up, and listen, I gotta do my job, but they gotta do their job too. So now we're back. This is the Prismatic Puglist. This is literally a stab in the dark, but this is the collaboration between Street Fighter and Game Beauty. And the thing about this, if this had a different packaging, I think this would have been much higher up because I really enjoyed this color story. This for me is a rainbow palette with a twist because there is a rainbow in here, but there are different undertones in here, and I really appreciate this has a chaoticness that I can deal with where it actually brings me a lot of inspiration. I just don't love the packaging of this. This one makes, again, I don't mind when there's a lot of shadows. I just mind when there's a lot of packaging. And this one has a lot of packaging, but I really do enjoy the color story. And I am excited to see what Game Beauty is doing for the future. Here is the ColourPop and Shrek palette. I really enjoyed this palette too. Packaging is really, really nice. It's the same good packaging as the I was gonna say Rapunzel, but I mean Tangled and ColourPop had, but this one also has a nice color story, and I really enjoy this one. I think the color story is really nice. I think the quality is really nice. This is like a neutral palette with a twist because there's a little bit of like a grounded green in here, and I really enjoy this palette. I actually think that this palette was really fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. And is this the highest ranking ColourPop palette of the year? It might have been. It might have been. This I know is the highest ranking glam light palette of the year, and this is the Lord of the Rings palette, and I bought this one myself and I'm really excited about this palette. I think this color story is very new and unique for being glam light, and I really enjoy the quality. I really enjoy the looks that I've done. I think all of this is really beautiful. All of these shades are a little bit different, and this does have almost a little bit of a gray tone on it as well, but it has a little bit of warmth as well, so you can bring it warmth if you want to, or you can make it cool tone. I love palettes that have an option. Do you want to go cool tone? Do you want to go warm tone? Do you want to be colorful? Do you want to be neutral? Do you want to be light? Do you want to be dark? I love palettes that bring me an option where I get to decide in what direction I want to bring the palette, and I really enjoyed this one. I think this is one of the better palettes that Glamlight has done, and I think that palette was really beautiful. This is the Adventure Time and Lethal Cosmetics. This is a collab they did. This is again a rainbow palette, and this one is so bright. There's no gray tone on this one whatsoever. It's just bright and fun and so many different options in here, and I so love this palette. Not only can I create really good looks from this one on its own, there's also a bunch of shades in here that I have reached for. I'm like, oh, I would love a pop of this, or there's a bunch of really interesting like duochromes in here that are really, really beautiful, and I really love how these shades are laid out together. This is a predominantly like almost like a bright pastels palette, but it has a couple of shades where you can make it darker if you want to, but I just really enjoyed this palette. I thought it was a lot of fun, and again, in this time where cool tone neutrals is the reigning champion of color stories, especially when it comes to mainstream palettes, I enjoy a chaotic, colorful palette. These two, I'm putting in the same position because I did do that last time I talked about these, but of course these are two different palettes, and this is the other Blend Bunny and Ellis Atlantis. This is Origin, that's what this one is called. So this is the more warmer toned one. I think on me these look way more different, and I think that if you prefer warmer tones, I wouldn't get the big one, because there's also a palette like this. There's like a big kahuna, like a big one. I wouldn't get that one. I would just get this one. Only get the big one if you actually prefer like all of those cool tones as well, or if you actually prefer cool tones and warm tones, because for me, I think that again, this is a really nice, I can build a lot of things with this palette here, but I personally really like it together with the shimmers as well. And again, this was part of the same collab, so I ranked them at the same position, but of course these are two different palettes. This one has a lot of very interesting shades in here. These are not the same formula as like those, like again, the Bella Beauté bar, the Gourmande Girls, the Fantasy Cosmetic of all. This is a different formula. It is not creasing. If you want to get something that again, it's gonna look really beautiful and interesting and impactful on the eyes, but it's not gonna swatch as impactful as like some of those shades that I mentioned that might crease on you. This one is really nice. If you're looking for an all shimmer palette that has really impactful shimmers, but you have problems with creasing, this one did not crease on me. I thought it was really beautiful and I enjoyed it a lot. Here's the other one of the small 9-pan palettes that Unearthly released, and this is the one that's called Murky Meadow, and this is the one that is more of the murky yellowy color scheme. I love colors like this, and the only thing that I said that would have made this even more perfect for me is if one of these shimmers had been a yellow, because this is more of a like a gold, a bronze, and almost like a brown with a little bit of a like a red undertone, and then there's a peach, like a green to a peach multichrome, like a green to a yellow to a peach multichrome topper. I think you can see that there's some green in here. I just wish that like maybe this one would have been a more bright yellow instead, because we have this really bright matte here. Honestly, I think this palette is beautiful. I love a yellow and a brown together, and this is like almost perfect for me. So I'm deducting a little bit because I honestly, these 3 shimmers here are not what I would have picked for this palette, but again, we're getting into like a lot of personal preferences here. It's the same with this one. This is the Fairy Tale Europe palette by Nomad Cosmetics. This is one of the better packagings that they've ever done. Like, because this one is like attached on top of it. I think you can see. So cool. So this is a row of neutrals, more like slightly cool tone leaning on me. These are cool tone leaning neutrals. If you have a cooler undertone, these are going to be more neutral browns, and then just a bunch of really interesting, almost like bonbon candy shaped kind of a shimmers. The quality is beautiful. This palette has amazing quality. I don't always do this, but I think this is such a smart way of doing a palette as well, because I think a lot of people are looking for a neutral crease and then a fun pop on the lid, and this one is giving you all that, and these shades are beautiful. So I definitely think that this is one of the stronger palettes that Nomad has done. Even though I will admit it's not 100% my preference, I still think it's a smart, beautiful, and high quality palette. Here we have the Artitude Ink and Roses palette. Now we're getting into some more Artitude Cosmetics as well. This palette, I have described this palette as being a neutral for color lovers and a colorful palette for neutral lovers, because this one is bridging that kingdom in between. There is some mauves, there's some neutrals, there's a little bit of green, there's some berries and pinks, and I think this palette is stunning. Some of these shimmers do crease on me, same as they're in a similar ballpark when it comes to formulation to some of those other brands I noticed. But what I really love with Artitude Cosmetics and their palettes is that they bring a bunch of different formulations to shimmers, and you know I love that, but not all of them are the same. These are kind of different, and I really enjoy how this palette looked, and playing with this palette was really, really beautiful. Here is another one of the Cosmic Beauty palettes. This is the Tarot card. They came out with the Tarot card The Lovers for Valentine's Day. We'll talk about that in a bit. And this one came out now quite recently for winter, and this is the tarot card for death. So death is not just death, it's also like rebirth and new beginnings. And this one is a little bit more cool tone, but it has a little bit of a warm quadrant here, which I can mix with all of these and make them into what I want it to be. And again, Cosmic Beauty has amazing quality. And this one is slightly more in my type of color story than the other cool tone palette. And I love the quality of this one. And I love playing with this one. The purples are beautiful down here. There's this really beautiful like holographic purple shadow down here. The silver is incredible, even though I don't love all of these cool tones. And again, I do sometimes want something cool tone, and I always love a palette that gives me cool tones and warm tones. It's when it's all cool tones or when it all has that gray layer, that's when I'm not loving it. This is the Natasha Denona palette that I have enjoyed most this year. There's a couple of mini palettes that I've tried this year that I actually did not include because like they're all like mini ones. The mini contour one from Natasha Denona, I really enjoyed that one. The mini gloom one, I actually didn't enjoy. I didn't think the quality was great. I also didn't enjoy the mini pastel palette from Danessa Myricks. That one I really did enjoy. It's just mini palettes, so I didn't include them this year. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. Now you got a mini review anyways. This is the Bloom palette. This is a warm, neutral peachy palette with a pop of a little bit of red. I really enjoyed this one. I think it's beautiful. I enjoy what I've done with it. I love this topper that has like a peachy base and then this like almost like a icy blue wet look. I absolutely love it. I think this palette is beautiful. If you love peachy neutrals and you want something with a twist, I think this one is stunning. I really enjoy it. I had a lot of fun with it. One of my favorite mainstream palettes of the year. Now I'm trying to see, is there any other mainstream palette that is ranked higher than that? There actually might not be. That might have been the biggest like hit for me when it comes to mainstream palettes. Then comes the collaboration that Morgan Turner did together with Oden's Eye, and I love Oden's Eye, and this is the palette that they did. I thought it was really smart of Oden's Eye to have Morgan Turner come in and do a palette for them, because I feel like her aesthetic when it comes to color choices are very different from what Oden's Eye normally does. This is a little bit more muted, this is a little bit more romantic, there's a bunch of neutrals in here, and I think she did a really good job curating a color story that is, and she talked about this, that is very true to her, but also throwing in a couple of pops for people who love colors. I think that's really smart to like step out of the box a little bit with collabs and not just think about yourself, but also think about the consumers. This is a really well curated palette. It's beautiful. I love the looks that I did. I think she did a great job. Here's another palette from Beauté's signature, and this is from the Roots palette. I don't love this like color. Like when it comes to the packaging, I think she's done better packaging than this, but the inside, the packaging feels very sturdy and nice now. I really love the background of this. It's beautiful. This color story, I love pretty much all of these shades individually. Really good quality, very pigmented. I don't think 100% the color story maybe makes sense. I personally don't know if the grays were needed in this palette, and I don't know if we needed both of these pale ones. I feel like it's almost like missing something in here. With that being said, if you just hold over a couple of these shades, if you look at a palette and you're like, wow, that is too much, I don't know what to do with it, and that's the only thing that's bringing this palette down, I don't think the color story 100% makes sense. Cover some of the pops. Cover some of the pops and just be like, okay, now it's less scary. Now it's less scary. Like cover some of the pops and just see what you can do, because I will say, some of the best looks I've ever done, like this look today, it's only 3 eyeshadows. You don't need to use 16 eyeshadows just because they're all in a palette. And if it feels a little overwhelming, just cover a bunch of shades up and see if you can get some inspiration. Next one is Lethal Cosmetics and the Conjuring palette. I thought this like packaging was really cool. This again is that gray tone, but dang, the quality of this palette, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed how impactful these like pastels were on the eyes. And I created one of my absolute favorite looks ever. You have this like, you can see that like, there's a green to a pink like duochrome with holographic particles in here. The shimmers are incredible. The mattes are really beautiful. I love this like taupe with the berry pastel pink, and then this almost denim blue with the like almost like minty pastel. There's something about this, even though I don't like grayscale, maybe it's because it's only a tall pan, maybe because it's so curated, maybe because I love the look so much. There's something about this palette, I really did enjoy it. Here's another Day signature, and this is Festive Elegance, and I think this one is one of the better holiday palettes that came out this year, because this one, not only is it great quality, this one has very impactful shimmers, but it's not a bunch of those like multi-chromes that has a bunch of shifts that doesn't go with the palette. They're just very impactful, sparkly, high-intensity metallics that go with the shades. It is a red and green and neutral color story with a pop of gold both in matte and shimmer. There is a light one, there's some dark ones, and there is warm toned and cool tone options in a bunch of these different shades, which I think is also really smart. Like I said, I like when a palette has warm tones and cool tones. I thought those was really beautiful. Then Crown Legacy, this is the collaboration between Monolith, which is a European retailer for indie makeup. Definitely check them out if you're living in Europe, and Glaminatrix, and this is a collab palette that they did together. This is really beautiful, but I actually bumped this down a couple of steps because I've used it since I reviewed it, and I wish that there was a little bit more contrast between a couple of these shades, because the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I wish there was a little bit more oomph to it. I wish there was a little bit more contrast to it, and I don't know, it's just a personal preference thing. I still think it's beautiful. I mean, it's very high up. I think it's stunning. I love the colors. I love Glaminatrix formula, but I did bump it down a couple of steps because a couple of the palettes that I'm going to talk about, we're heading into the top 30 now, and I just had to be honest with myself and look at some of the palettes that if I was following the ranking that I had before, where I was like, I actually enjoyed those more than this one. So I just bumped it down a couple. I still think it's a beautiful palette. It's more that when I looked at the whole picture, I was like, you know what? I actually enjoy those other palettes more. So that is why. Now we're getting into position, I think, a 30. And this is where we find Beauté Below by Nomad Cosmetics. Look at this packaging. This packaging is so impressive. I really, really enjoy it. And this is a really nice jewel. There's something about this one that just makes me really happy. This is a beautiful jewel tone story. Me personally, I would mix this together with some pastels. But here is where I think that they did such a good job compared to what I talked about with the plastic palette before. They didn't put in any of those like pastels that they have in their other palettes. I will say though, I think there is a black. I think this is a black, or is it like a dark green? Not 100% sure. I think it is a black. Again, we didn't need another black in a... This is a dark... I get it. I don't know if it's a black or if it's a very dark green, but it's very, very dark. It could be a black. I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes with Blend Bunny, some of these shades look black, but there's an undertone to it. But this could be a black. And I'm just saying we don't need a black in every palette. Maybe we can like reel it in a bit. I use this one together with pastels, but that's the thing. They have pastels in so many of their different palettes. I can just reach into them. They don't need to put the same pastels in every palette. I think this color story is beautiful. It fits the theming on the front a lot. I think the quality is beautiful. They did a great job with this one. Now we're getting into the Elva palettes that Oden's I did this summer. So I'm gonna rank these in the order that I rank these palettes, like how I feel about them, but they're gonna be back to back to back. So this is gonna be the summer palette. This is of the four my least favorite. Still really did enjoy it though. I think Oden's I makes incredible like bright light like pastels, and I really did enjoy this. This one didn't need to be here. Like we didn't need this one in here. That could have been something else. I do enjoy like a nice blue palette again. We didn't need that red one in there. I don't even know where that one is in there. I don't think that was a good choice at all. Then we have the autumn one, and this one has a really fun color story. Again, we didn't need this one in here. I don't know why it's here. I don't think we needed it. I don't think that that one is, because what are you using this one? I think that this one should have been a very dark brown or a very dark like green to go with this one. Quality is really beautiful. Again, you can use these differently, and I love the looks that I've done with this one. These two together create a really, really fun and beautiful look, and I really did enjoy it. But yes, sometimes I'm like, there is this like pop in some of the Oden's I palettes where I'm like, we didn't need that pop. That pop didn't need to be there. Winter, stunning. This though, this one has a pop of pale yellow, and this, to get this one on the lid when you have like a purple crease, are you kidding me? That's so beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. Some of these like darker shimmers here are incredible and definitely giving that like winter night feeling. Beautiful palette. Loving the mix of cool tones and warm tones in this with the pop of like pale yellow in both the shimmer and matte. This, the pop makes sense. Really enjoy it. My favorite is the spring one though. I really enjoyed this one. I love these bright like almost like corally pinks over here. Beautiful. Dark purple, dark brown, two dark ones. Again, the pop, the pastel blue, this pastel blue, it's so good. This pastel blue is amazing. And again, it makes sense because you can use it together with the purple. You can use it together with the pinks. You can use it as a like to blending out some of these colors, or you can use it as the lid color in the in the corner color. Makes sense. The yellow, at least it's a beautiful lid color, like the shimmer one together with like some of the pinks in the crease. But I think that this one, stunning. Love it. You can go neutral, you can go dark, you can go light, you can go bright. Absolutely love it. This was the Valentine's palette from Gourmande Girls this year, and this is the Bitten palette. This is so moody and berry, and like if you like berries and moody purples and dark shades, so stunning. The quality of this palette is beautiful. I love the shimmers in this one. I think it's stunning. I love this topper shade over here. It's called Mina. It's like a pink, like iridescent topper. Super stunning. Love this. Quality, beautiful, absolutely stunning palette. This year we also had a re-release from Unearthly Cosmetics, which was the Not Normal. So that got re-released with some more shades, and these are beautiful. Again, this is a palette that is a half cool tone, half brighter warm tone. Like the greens here are really, really interesting. And then you have some mauves here that are not 100% cool tones and a couple of cool tones at the end. The shimmers are beautiful. This shade here, it's called Topaz. It's so pretty. Absolutely love this matte green here. It's so beautiful. This palette is just really, really good. I love the looks that I do with this. There's something very inspiring about this one, even though it is leaning a little cool tone, and I enjoy it. This is the latest palette by Lunar Cosmetics. This is called the Serpentine palette. This color story is so fun. It is, again, red, pink, green. There is a little gray and peach here. I love that we have those tones actually here at the end, where if you want to go super colorful, you can just keep creating in this corner. But if you want to tone it down and want to use one of these as like a transition shade, you have the options and you can bring it a little bit more neutral. You can use the red with this one. You can use this one with this one and you get a little bit more of a muted crease, or you can like use these two and you get that very, very bright crease. The only thing I don't love about this palette, actually there's two things. This one would have been at the tippity top because I love how inspiring this is. If this shade was a little bit more pigmented, and I think that this one is too creamy. It still works really good. I didn't have any problems with creasing, but I think this one is too creamy and I think this one is a little bit too thin to make it like a top 20 palette. But I still think it's beautiful. It's a really stunning palette. This is a palette that I actually changed my mind about. First time I used this palette, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's fine. This is the Nomad Pacific Northwest. The more I use it, the more I like it. There's something about this one that is, again, it also has a little bit of an almost gray leaning on it, but there's a couple of shades that are a little bit more warm leaning that makes this so interesting to work with. I love how these two look together. I love this like gold peach duochrome. There's something about these shades together. They're so stunning and the quality is beautiful. I love the mix of neutrals with greens with a pop of this like peachy yellow duochrome with a little bit of a gray tone, but then also some really like poppy and warms. It's just a very interesting color story. I really like how these look together and I really like how these wear. And the more I work with this, the more inspired I am. Is this the Attitude Cosmetics that's the highest on this list? There might actually be another one, or maybe this one is the highest one. This is the Submerged palette. This is an extremely deep, yummy, wonderful jewel tone palette that has depth and it has that. It doesn't have that gray cast on it. This is just yummy and saturated, but it also has a little bit of like a different tone going on here. They're all not just super deep and saturated. There's a couple of like almost gray leaning like lavenders over here. And then there is this like almost white gray and this beautiful topper that is like a purple to blue to green. It's like a multi-chrome topper that's very sparkly, stunning. Quality is beautiful. I'm loving the color selection in this one because again, it gives you options in what direction do you want to go. Stunning, absolutely beautiful formula. And you can see the multi-chrome in this one as well, like the purple going to like blue to green. This is a really beautiful palette. If you love jewel tones, if you want to have some special shades, this one is a great one. Okay, we are in top 20 and on position number 20, we have the Come Play With Us by Bella Beauté. This was their Halloween palette. It was released, let me think. This was released very close to Halloween, but I think that this one has a Christmas, like a holiday after Halloween kind of a color story. It does have a full row of blues though, and they're absolutely stunning, but there is also like green and red in here, plus a little bit of neutral. So I feel like this is the perfect transition between Halloween going into other holiday seasons all the way into New Year. So this is a really nice like festive season palette, the same way like they did Signature. What was it called last year? Something like holidays or seasons or something like that. This is the same, where it's like taking you all the way through the season, all the way to New Year's. I think it's beautiful. The quality is really stunning. So again, same story. Some of these do crease on me, but Bella Beauté most of the time just make really, really interesting color stories, and their mattes are incredible. So I can babysit the shimmers a little. Here is another one of the Gourmande Girls palettes. This is Call of the Siren. Again, this is also dark jewel tones, but this one has a little bit of a streak of like warm tones in here that just makes this incredibly interesting and so inspiring. And every time I look at this palette, every time I open this palette, I just feel so inspired. I feel like this color story is just underwater jewel tones but reimagined because of the added like warm tones in here. Just makes it a little bit different, because and you probably have seen that too, a lot of times when people are doing these kind of color stories, they'll do the pink going to purple, going to turquoise, going to blue, but this one is just reimagining that a little bit, and I do enjoy a new vision. Here is one of the newest palettes in here that I finished reviewing, and this is the Crystallized palette by Bella Beauté. This one just came out. Really enjoy the quality of this one. It is absolutely stunning. I did have a little bit of problem with creasing. It has a smidgen of a gray, like, on some of these. They're a little bit too gray for my liking. Really enjoy the shimmers in here. They're very interesting shimmers to be in a color story like this. I do wish there was maybe one more, because it is a kind of a big palette, so I do wish there was one more dark matte, except the one that is called, I can't read it. This is a silver shiny cursive text on a shiny holographic background with pattern. They are unreadable. Unreadable. So I really hope that if we are going to name shadows, they're super hard to read. But I really enjoy the color story of this palette. It's not my absolute favorite color story from them, but it's very unique for them. I do wish though that we maybe had one more dark shade in here. That's just my personal, like, did we need both of these? Maybe not. Did we need both of these? Maybe not. But again, that's just a personal preference. It's a little bit of a grayscale, but not enough for me to feel like the entire palette has that. There's also a more diversity in the undertones in this one than some of the other palettes with the grayscale. I really did enjoy it. I will say, if you've been wanting the Lands of Enchantment by Ensley Rain and you didn't want to purchase from Ensley Rain anymore, this one has a similar vibe to it. Maybe not as bright in the undertones as that one. This is the Fantasy Cosmetica Ranger palette. This one came out earlier this year. This is a very well-made 9-pan palette, because again, all of these mattes really go together, and you can like make it lighter, make it brighter, make it darker, make it more neutral, and I really like how these go together, and the shimmers are very beautiful and very different and just stunning on the eyes. I think this palette is just a really well-made 9-pan palette. Great quality. I love Fantasy Cosmetica, and I think this is one of the more well-made 9-pan color stories that they have made. Here comes another palette that is pretty new to my collection, and I love this color story, and this would have been top 10 if I didn't feel like some of the shades are a little hard pressed. I think you can see it in the green here. This undertone of this like palette, it's like almost like an acid pastel neon rainbow palette with depth but still brightness. The undertones of this rainbow palette is just so interesting. Did I say what it's called? This is Dead Cool by Unearthly. Beautiful palette, absolutely still recommend it. I just wish that some of the shades weren't as hard pressed as they are. That's the only, like, I'm deducting some points for that. Other than that, I think it's beautiful. Makes me so inspired just looking at this one. I was actually like contemplating which palette I was going to make another look with for this, and I was thinking about filming another look with this one, but I just wore this palette like a couple of days ago, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back to an earlier fall release instead. This is the only palette from Gloss Gods here. This is the only one I have on the list, and this is Dancing Lights. It's a really beautiful palette. I think they did restock this one. I don't know if I still have an affiliated code with Gloss Gods. They keep changing their affiliate program so often, and I think they changed my code this time, and I don't know what my code is anymore. I wanted to change it back to Angelica, but they didn't respond to my DM anymore. I honestly have no idea, but they do have an affiliate program. What is my code? No idea. And I can't get a hold of them, so use somebody's code if you're gonna order from Gloss Gods. I don't know what to tell you. Do love this palette though, it's beautiful. Again, this is that like pink going to, like I said, pink going to purple, going to like teals, going to blues. beautiful quality. Love this palette. I think this is probably one of the better qualities that Gloss Girls has ever done. The shimmers are really stunning. Some of them do crease on me a little bit. Again, it's a very similar quality to some of the other palettes I've been talking about. Some of them are similar in quality, let's just put it like that. And this one, some of them do crease on me, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful palette. Love this color story. I think it's absolutely stunning. Use somebody's code. What my code is, no idea. They probably know, but I don't. I have no idea. One of the better color stories of this year, if this one didn't have as much creasing as it does, this one would have been absolutely on the top. But unfortunately, this has, like this one here, Oyster, that I use. Oyster, Nautilus, Colorful Moon, also this one here, they creased so quickly on me. And it's a shame because this color story, this is Ocean Jewel by Bella Beauté Bar. It's fantastic. Like, look at this shade up here. It's like the red going to almost black, going to stunning. So beautiful. One of the most inspiring color stories of this year. Unfortunately, quite a few of these shimmers do crease on me. They're that very emollient formula. It is what it is. With that being said though, I will babysit it to get to work with something that is that fun and inspiring. This is the Glaminatrix Bonfire palette. I think this is a stunning, I was gonna be like 12 pan palette. I think they did a great job with this one. I think it's absolutely stunning. It is a little bit cool over here, and then it is warm. Again, you have the cool and the warm. These are very bright and fun. The quality is stunning. This is the amazing Glaminatrix quality. Absolutely so impressed with this one. They're just so stunning. Beautiful, beautiful, stunning, no notes. And it's the same with the tones of Turd. This one came out, this was like a April Fool's joke that was made into an actual palette. You could buy this one under another name if you didn't want the joking name. I don't know if they restocked that one since, because I know they sold out, but it is a really, really beautiful palette. Again, this is the kind of neutrals that I want. There are some browns, there are some grounded notes. It's like yucky and yummy and warm, and I love that in a palette. I think it's stunning. And there's a matte white, which you know, if you've seen my neutral palette, is something that I love in a neutral palette. I just think that one is beautiful. Next one is another Bella Beauté Bar palette, and this is the collaboration that they did with Newport, and this is the Coalescence palette. This one is a really interesting palette, and this one has some very interesting shades for being Bella Beauté Bar, and I love that this is colorful without having the gray tone on it, but still a little bit muted. Love the lavender shade, love this green shade. It's almost like a Tiffany green shade. It's very unusual. There is like a very warm green. So there's a warm, a cool, a cool, a warm, a warm. There's different undertones. There's some neutrals. Shimmers are stunning. I think she did a great job with this palette. Some of them do crease on me. Again, it's like that same story again with Bella Beauté Bar, but still it's a beautiful palette. Now we're in the top 10, and now on position number 10 is the palette that I am wearing on my eyes today, which is Salem Witch City by Nomad Cosmetics. I love this one. The packaging is really cool. This was the Halloween palette that came out this fall. Look at this. So bright and fun and yummy. There's greens, reds, purples, grays. This is one, according to me, one of the better versions of the red, purple, gray color stories that we've seen this year, because it has that warm corner over here and the grays are not taking over the entire palette. There's like a pop of it. You want to go gray, here you go. There is a black, and in this palette I think it makes sense. And also Nomad Cosmetics does not put blacks in all of their palettes. I'm actually only using these two shades and this one today. 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's this look here, and sometimes less is more when you're trying to create something. I just think this palette is stunning. I absolutely love it, and I'm so excited that Nomad keeps bringing out such a versatility when it comes to different palettes. Oh my gosh. I think we're now coming into the Bella Beauté Bar palette that is the highest ranking this year. This earring is weird, and that is the Dark Dreamscape. Again, this color story is just so inspiring to me. Like, look at this. Look at this. It is so bright and almost like fluorescent neon pastels, but still the darkness. And look at this here. Again, it is that like red, and then going to almost like a black. It's just such a cool shade. I love it. Bubblegum pink, almost fluorescent pastel orange, mint shades, and this like periwinkle beautifulness going on here. The whole palette is laid out so stunning. This is stunning. Some of these shimmers crease on me. Don't take a shot every time I say that either, because you would be asleep before the end of this video, but these are so stunning. I love the versatility of this palette. I love how it goes from really light to really dark. This would probably have been #1 of this year if the shimmers have not creased on me. And these pastels, some of them are not as pigmented as I know they can be. And Bella Beauté makes amazing mattes, like really incredible mattes. And I was surprised to see that I think 2 of these pastels were a little bit more on, not as opaque as I'm used to them being. Again, if we have had that, they would have been even higher. But this is one of the most inspiring color stories that I've seen this year. I think it's amazing. Next is going to be the Trapped palette by Gourmande Girls. Again, I love this color story. Love this. I love these shades together here. They're so fun. There is like dark shades, there is light shades. This like bright, like these together with this creates the most amazing bright green crease ever. These 2 together will give you a really like poison berry crease. Stunning. You have some muted shades. You have a pale yellow that you can either buff with or use as an inner corner highlight, which I really love. The shimmers are so incredibly like impactful, but still very different from each other. I just think this palette is so fun and so inspiring. And again, with this many shades, are able to get so many different options. Absolutely love it. Here comes the palette I talked about before, the Lovers by Cosmic Beauty. This is the tarot card that is a Lovers, came out for Valentine's Day. This has a slight gray leaning like tone on it, but this is a really nice take on neutrals and pastels, because you have like a lot of like neutrals in this corner over here. You have 3 different pastels. You have some transition shades in the more colorful realm as well, in case you want to go all colorful. And then just a very nice array of shimmers in neutrals, pinks, greens, and blue with like a pewter silver with blue shimmer in here. Just a very nice, interesting color story. Really enjoy this quality. I love like Cosmic Beauty's quality. Connection, you can see Connection, the one up here. Oh my god, I'm not showing you anything. You see this here? It's like a multi-chrome that is like a pink going to gold, going to almost like a green pale purple. It's a very, very, very interesting shade. Great quality, really beautiful, and a nice take on a half colorful, half neutral palette that we haven't seen a million times before. I think this palette that's coming now is one of the biggest surprises of the year. I did not think, just looking at this palette, I was gonna love this palette the way that I do. This is, the first time I used it, I was like, wait a dang minute. And then I swatched it out and I was like, it's game over. I've loved playing with this one. This is the Gothic Romance from Unearthly Cosmetics. This is such good quality. Like the mattes are incredible. And this is just a new take on the gradient, where the gradient is not obvious. You have the dark smoky purple going to lavender. You have the almost like black gray going to a moss green, going to a warm khaki, going to a beige. Just a really, really interesting gradient going from burgundy reds and then into bubblegum pinks. And the shimmers, there's one on each side. They're so good, they're so interesting, they're so complementary to the color story. They're just incredible quality. This palette is really good. Like, amazing mattes, amazing shimmers, such good quality, so inspiring. Really love this. This is such a good palette from Unearthly. I do think this is my new favorite palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. Absolutely love this one. If you're like me and you looked at this one, you're like, I don't know about that one. I bought this one myself because I'm gonna give this one a try. No regrets. No regrets. It is so stunning. Now we're coming into another Day signature, and I was in love the first time I used this palette. I already knew this this is Drops of Fantasy. You can already tell by the front of this palette how fun this palette is. This is what I'm saying. Sometimes I just want something fun. It is so bright. It is so zesty. It is so saturated. There's not a speck of a gray tone on this one. This is a new take on a rainbow palette. It's almost like fluorescent neon mixed with deep berries, mixed with something murky, mixed with like almost crayon colors, and then these really interesting undertones over here. The shimmers are incredible. They're so vibrant and fun and beautiful, and I just love this palette. Love this palette. I've had so much fun with it. It's such an interesting take on a rainbow palette because again, it has 3 greens, but they're so different in undertone, and still somehow it works. I think they made a great job with this palette. It's quite honestly so inspiring and so fun. And if you love bright colors like me, that one just injects so much fun into your collection. Whew, it is getting hot in these lights and the sun is going down. Oh my gosh, I've been here for forever. These videos are no joke. Okay, position number 4. I told you first time I showed you this palette, I said expect to see this palette at the top of this year's palette ranking. This is the Monk palette by Fantasy Cosmetica. Be Still My Heart. I love warm, yummy tones like this. I mean, I literally built my entire makeup brand around like this kind of like yellow with some orange in it. This just makes me incredibly happy. I love the quality of this palette. I love that this is a monochromatic palette that is still like brown, yellow, orange, but it all just makes sense. The shimmers are incredible. If I could change anything in this palette, it would be to bring in a pastel yellow. But again, I have a million of those in my collection. I have brought that in myself when I used it, but this makes me so happy. If you love these kind of tones, I cannot explain to you how much I love this palette. It is beautiful. The quality, how it looks on the eyes, how it blends, the shimmers, love it. Such a stunning palette, and I'm so excited that Jordan, the owner of Fantasy Cosmetica, dared to do a palette this yellow. Because, oh my god, yellow is such an underrated color. Absolutely love it. Position number 3 is gonna be the Nevermore by Gourmande Girls. This color story, the quality, love it. This tone, like this periwinkle blue together with this murky green, and then this like multichrome that is like a blue going, like a green going to blue going to this peach. So incredible. These colors, you think they wouldn't go together, but they go together so well. I love how inspiring this is. I love the quality of this. I love how this is on the eyes. This one, I have used this once, just dabbed on the middle of the eye, no creasing. Once I used it a little bit more higher up on my crease, I did get some creasing. This is a little bit more of those emollient shades. Again, when a color story is this fun and bright and just inspiring, it's almost like grungy graveyard meets fun poppy pastels, and I'm not mad about that at all. This is inspired by Nevermore by Edgar Allan Poe, which also inspired, of course, the Nevermore Academy and Wednesday's Netflix series, but Edgar Allan Poe was there first. But just this is great tones made right, because the pops in here just makes all of this just so inspiring to me, and I just love how this looks together, love how this works, and I have been so inspired by this palette. I think it's great. Number two is gonna be Broken Jewels by Day Day Signature. What a palette. What a palette. This is half neutrals, half colors done so right. So right. They're so unexpected. Again, maybe it's the periwinkle and the green. Maybe that's what's getting me this year, because look, green, periwinkle, absolutely love it. This green is so stunning. The only thing I don't like about this is that some of the shimmers are a little bit too loosely pressed. But that doesn't bother me on the eyes. It's only be careful when you pick them up so you don't end up digging in them too much. This shade here, I created a look with this one and this one. One of the most beautiful neutral looks I've ever had on my eyes ever. Again, there is a little pop of gray here, but maybe that's all you need. Just a little bit if you want to cool a look down. You can dip into the gray and then just deepen it up over here if you want to. I just think this is so inspiring. I just think it's beautiful. There is like some pops, but it still feels somehow like a neutral palette, but the pops make sense. I just love this palette. I think it's stunning. 10 out of 10 recommend. It's a beautiful palette. Oh my god, the sun is literally setting. Okay, who's been keeping track? Who's been keeping track? What is my favorite palette of the year? I instantly knew when I opened this palette. I'm like, oof, we're in trouble. This is probably going to be my favorite palette of the year. And this is the Starlight Society by Cosmic Beauty. Dang, this is such a good palette. I love it. I mean, clearly, favorite palette of the year. Like I've said before, I love Cosmic Beauty's quality. I think they make amazing quality at such a reasonable price. I never have problems with creasing. I think the mattes are the perfect amount of pigmented when I get the pigmentation that I want, but it's not hard to blend because it doesn't like stick to your primer and it's hard to blend. You can still build on them, but it's just beautiful. And this color story, again, it is just neutrals meets jewel tones meets pastels. I look at this and I'm like, there is a zillion, trillion, billion looks I could do with this. I love it. I have a video where I'm creating 2 looks with this, and then I have a video, I think it is already live on my channel. Yes, I'm pretty sure, where I am doing another look with this one, and I'm actually bringing in, I'm doing a look with these 2 palettes together. So there is quite a bunch of looks available. With most of these palettes, there are looks available either in short form or in long form here on my channel. If you're looking for like more content with any of these, just search for them on my channel. You'll be able to find something. But there's like warm neutrals, there is like almost like a cool tone mauves, there is pastels, there's jewel tones. This color story is just so inspiring. The quality is just so incredible, and the way that Faye, the owner of Cosmic Beauty, was able to take light versus dark, jewel tones versus pastels, grungy and neutrals and pops and just toppers and multichromes. And look at this here. Look at this green going to gold, going to red, going to purple, going to blue. Just hidden in this palette. Just hidden in this palette. These toppers down here are incredible. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of this color story, and one day I am going to create color stories that are as inspiring as this one, because I absolutely love it. And like I said, I will put, I think, like top 20 down below. But like I said, if you are interested in shopping any of these palettes, I do have affiliate links and affiliate codes down in my description box. If you feel like my reviews have been helpful to you throughout the year, don't forget to leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, maybe share the video if you enjoyed it. It really does help out. I've definitely been taking the end of the year videos, and I've been looking at the views, I've been looking at the engagement, and I am gonna sit down in January and do a real thinker about what gets to stay for 2026 and what is getting booted off the roster, basically. So please let me know if there's anything that you really enjoy. Make sure to leave a like, and like I said, comment, like, share it with your friends. I hope you're having a great day. I am still in the middle of Vlogmas. I am uploading every day until Christmas here and on my second channel. So some of the videos are on my second channel, but I will have a video tomorrow again. So please check back then, and I hope you have a great evening until then.